What's good, YouTube? Warstorm here, coming at you guys with a little bit of a different video setup. So, we're setting up with this in the backdrop. Let me know if you like this a little bit better than, because I want to be doing something a little bit different than the constant things on my laptop, because I feel like it's a little more personal to do it this way. So if you like this video backdrop, be sure to let me know in the comments, and I can rotate it in and out. We can try and figure out what we like together. But anyway, so the main thing I want to talk about today is the ban list. The ban list has been a proper discussion because, quite frankly, in TCG, we don't have an official date when it's coming out, but Konami's given us a general expectation when we'll get it about mid-September on their blog. But again, with Konami, they could wake up one day and decide. But anyways, so we have to talk about this format right now and what needs to change in order to promote what's coming next. So the top 3 decks right now are, and this is proven between the OCG and the TCG, is True Dracos, Dinosaurs, and Zoo. In our format, we still have Zoo, but Zoo's the thing I'm going to talk about first, because that's the thing that, there's a lot of opinions running around talking about what can, what shouldn't be hit, what should be hit, but nevertheless, we're going to take a look at it. So, this is all going to be my opinions, so be sure, let me know in the comment section down below, and I'll try my best to explain my point of view. So the first thing I want to talk about is Zoo. So, how do you hit Zoo? This is a big question, because we've seen what happened in the OCG, where Broad Bull was left legal, and it's still, the deck was still good. So that's why I think the first card I want banned is Broad Bull. Broad Bull has been the enabler of all this. It's the card that enables all the dumb things Zoo do, between the Coach Captain Bearman combo. It helps to enable the, Tyrant Neptune combo. That, granted, while it's not a thing here, it could have been if they banned Tyrant Neptune, but they went ahead and banned that, so it wasn't a problem. The point is, they're banning things like Norden, like Tyrant Neptune, because of Broad Bull. Broad Bull is always, and has always been, the problem. We all know why. So, in my opinion, I feel like if they had banned Broad Bull, but left Norden legal, everything would have been fine. So, I know it's going to get some lights up in the comments, but that's how I feel. But Broad Bull's always been the problem with Zodiacs, and hitting it to 1, I feel like, doesn't accomplish enough, because it'll still be generic. It's still generic. It's a busted card, and I think it needs to be banned. Next card I want to talk about is Zodiac Dryden. Yeah, I think Dryden also needs to be banned. Every format has these format-defining cards that you have to out or you lose, and I feel like Dryden is one of the things that makes the Zoo combo so damn good, because you do all these searching, all this drawing, all this nonsense, and then it ends on a Dryden plus a bunch of back row. Dryden is one of the things. The back row is what makes it scary, but Dryden is what makes it worse, because it makes it harder to out all the traps. In my opinion, I feel like that banning Dryden is the best solution, because the card is just too powerful. And then we also, even if these 2 cards are lit, another card we need to look at is Zodiac Barrage. Zodiac Barrage cannot stay at 3, even with Broad Bull and Dryden banned, because it will still be a good generic engine, and, Konami if people don't stop playing Zoo, their other future product can't go off. So Zoo, I don't think Barrage needs to be banned. I would say it needs to go to 1, because that would kind of keep the deck. I feel like these 3 hits are all the deck needs, really, to be put into a place where it's not a deck, it's an engine, because this is what happens with a lot of these decks, like Shadal's. It's where Shadal's are now after Construct was banned. I feel like that's where Zoo needs to be. I don't think Rat Pierre needs to go to 1. I think 2 is kind of like Reborn Tengu. It's its happy spot. It's never going to be what it was at 3, but I do feel like that the card is pretty fine where it is. The fact that people weren't playing Pot of Desires when Rat Pierre was at 3, but they did when Rat Pierre was at 2, kind of shows how important Rat Pierre is of now as it was back then. So in my opinion, with Zoo, you ban Broad Bull, you ban Trident, you limit Barrage, and the deck's pretty much just an engine now. It's not the consistent problem that it's been plaguing our format since its release. Next deck is True Dracos. Now, True Dracos are a deck that, it basically fundamentally breaks card design, because a card like Card of Demise is meant to be used in a slower deck, but True Dracos kind of break that thing. So what I would do with True Dracos, there's a couple things I feel like that need to be put in there. Diagram is, I feel like, a card that will probably go to 1, and it needs to go to 1. It will still be good at 1. I think it's more a matter of if, not when it gets hit, because I would argue it's the most powerful field spell we've seen in our game's history, because of the cards it searches, the protection it gives. It's just a nutty card, and I feel like Diagram will definitely go to 1, but I feel like with True Dracos, the primary problem card is, we all know it's Masterpiece. In my opinion, judging from the OCG and judging from our list, while it still performs very well in the OCG, I feel like in the TCG, the proper thing to do is just to ban Masterpiece. I don't know if this is going to happen, but I feel like if Konami really wants to push Link Summoning, they're going to have to hit this deck, because this deck, is consistent, it's good, and it doesn't need the extra deck. So if Konami wants to promote Link Summoning, True Dracos are going to have to be hit in some form or fashion. Return and Succession are very powerful cards, but I don't think that they're the main thing that keeps the deck good. It all revolves around Masterpiece and Diagram. Those cards, I feel like Masterpiece to none, banned, Diagram down to 1. It'll still be a really good deck, but it won't be the powerhouse that it is right now. So anyway, we're going to talk about the second thing we're going to talk about is dinosaurs. Now, I know a lot of you guys watching this love dinosaurs, and it's because it's one of those decks where you can spend $30, and it can be relatively competitive. And however, I do not think limiting Diagram is enough to hit the deck, because the two problem cards I point to in the archetype, people talk about Oviraptor and the babies, but the two cards that I point to in the archetype are VFD and Ultimate Conductor Tyranno. Now, VFD is a card that I would prefer to see banned, just because I feel like if Masterpiece is banned, it's only fair that True King of All, or VFD, or True King of All Calamities is banned. The card just breaks basic card design, because if it resolves, your opponent cannot use any monster effects at all the rest of the turn. That is of that activated attribute. Now, it's not as powerful as Masterpiece, but it's one of those cards where once it resolves, it puts you so far ahead that you can OTK your opponent on the next turn. I don't think that's really proper card design. I would definitely like to see it banned. And as far as Tyranno, I don't think it needs to be banned, but I do think it needs to go to 1. Going to 2 does nothing, because most people play 2. And stopping one Tyranno from hitting the board is not that difficult. But we all know a quick play Book of Eclipse that generates advantage and can clear entire boards for basically nothing is not a card we want to keep at 3, and I feel like 1 is kind of the proper place for Tyranno. The deck will still be good. You'll still have all the baby Ceresaurus, Oviraptor will still be at 3. The deck will still be good, but it won't be the force that it is now, which is preventing Links from being Link Summoning, which Konami wants to push, from being successful. And then that's about all I really think for the top tier decks that need to be hit. As far as other hits that could happen, I do think that the stars are aligning for Terraforming to possibly be limited. It's getting an Ultimate reprint, and that's always a signal of a card that's going to go to... We all saw it happen with Terror Top, so it's going to go, and we kind of have to accept that at this point. I do think that Terraforming is where it's going to go. I think Konami's going to take a more stringent approach and limit Terraforming. I actually think Terraforming is going to get limited. The reason I think that is because Konami does not like, in the TCG, they don't like cards being played in every single deck, because it limits the deck building for them. They want you to play the new stuff, and that's the main thing. That as long as this card is legal, it prevents their future cards like Metaverse from being good. The stars are just aligning for it to be hit. As far as other hits, this is probably going to be the more controversial part of the video, which is Maxi. Maxi. There's a constant debate on this card, but I think it depends whether Konami... It's the same thing I'm reading about Vanity Emptiness, but I feel like it's one of those cards where there's such a groundswell, like there was with Lavalval Chain, of just groundswell of people wanting it banned, that it's probably going to get banned. Would I like to see Maxi legal? Absolutely. I like the card. It keeps special summoning in check. That's the main thing. If the game is going to be this fast, you have to have ways to check that, and Maxi does that. It is not Vanity's Emptiness. You can still special summon a little bit, but you have to basically... Some decks can play through Maxi. And I just feel like it's a card I don't want banned, because we need, if the game is going to be fast as this, we need ways to counter it. And I think 1 is the happy spot for it. It is a Luxaki card, yes, but it is not Vanity's Emptiness. It does not say, you cannot special summon monsters. So I feel like I would like to see it at 1, but I'm realistic enough to understand it will stay at, it might possibly be banned. The next card I wanted to talk about is cards that cards might come off the list. So the first card that comes to mind is Gateway of the Six Samurai. Yes, I know a lot of you guys are reliving those Keyzon FTK loop days just hearing the name. But it wouldn't surprise me if Konami takes a very steady approach with this new 6am support coming out. They could take a very light approach and just simply bump Gateway up to 1 and see what happens, and then take a steady trend and bump it to 3 eventually. Gateway is a very, very powerful card, but like a lot of cards that are on the ban list, I think you're looking at what it did then and not what it did now. Gateway is a card that is, well, extremely, extremely powerful. I don't think 6ams are going to break our format, especially because Link Summoning hits the inherent problem with the deck is that it needs multiple extra deck monsters out for basic function. Yes, you can, and I do think that Gateway, between the new support, I think Gateway is a safe bet to come off the list. And it'll probably have a holo reprint in the Spirit Warrior set. So we have to wait and see. We don't know, but I think there's a good chance Gateway could come off the list. Another card I'm actually targeting for coming off the list is Preparation of Rites. This is a card that was recently bumped up to 2 in the OCG, and Vendreads love this card. Preparation of Rites is an incredible card in Vendreads because you can add a ritual. You can add the level 6 Vendread, which I think it's a level 6 for a reason. You can add the Vendread to your hand, and then you can add the spell card from the graveyard and keep going. Preparation of Rites is an incredible card in Vendreads for what it does for the deck as of now. And if Konami wants to push that deck and make it better, it wouldn't hurt to give them an extra copy of Preparation of Rites. Yes, it does help Necros, but Necros is dead as long as Shruid is a thing. It does help Herald, but again, you're limiting Terraforming, but bumping Preparation of Rites, I think it's a fair trade-off, because Terraforming in most Herald lists I've ever played has been a 3-of staple. I think it's a fair trade-off. You lose 2 Terraformings, give them an extra copy of Prep. And Necros is a very powerful deck, but it's not going to do what it did with all the hits on the list. The other cards I think we point to is, we all know, Evil Storm Exciton Knight is coming off the next ban list. There's too many signals. It got a reprint, and I honestly think it shouldn't have been banned in the first place. Witch of the Black Forest is probably coming straight to 3 after its errata. I don't think it's really going to change much. Sangan hasn't seen a lot of play after it came off the list, and while I still think Sangan's not a bad card, it's definitely not as good after the errata. I don't really have too many other thoughts on the list, but if you have any other things you would like to see, you can always let me know down in the comment section below. And as always, I thank you guys for watching. It's Orstorm signing out.
Don't lose your way.